1, 2, 3. Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelove, and this is Speed Play Victoria 2 number 3, or Let's Play Papal States number 3, whatever I'm calling it at this point. We left off, we've started to build our navy up in like a really legitimate sense, as we need to get as much colonial power as possible in the next 3.5 years. So in part that's also going to mean building frigates basically wherever we're able to, just anything in the world we can get in order to actually get our navy to a point that we can colonize as much as we would like to. We'll go ahead and just build frigates everywhere. That also builds them in the places building capital ships. So we'll go ahead and just cancel those to ensure our capital ship production is really just unaffected. And we don't really have to do too much to get that taken care of. We'll go ahead and get rid of all of the frigates there. And hopefully we'll be able to get a navy more or less in order by the time really colonialism becomes a thing. We'll go ahead and turn off naval construction, as it's really just clogging up this little menu here, the outliner. We'll go ahead and look at our industry. It's doing fairly well, and we are in the process of researching steam turbines. So hopefully those will all come together in the relatively near future. And ultimately, we've taken care of everything that we're able to take care of at this point. We'll go ahead and turn on building construction view. I kind of regret turning that on all of a sudden, however, it shows we have 90 days left, give or take, until Johor's naval base is ready to go, at which point we will begin more or less just getting our forces ready. Or not getting our forces ready, we'll begin building a navy there and getting our naval forces more or less just constructed. We do still have some time left though, so it isn't too much of a concern. We do also have all of the money that we need to do it, and our factories, we can probably upgrade a couple of them and still have enough money when the time does eventually roll around, which will just be in around a month. Ultimately, I'm fairly confident we'll be able to move into Africa with relative ease. We'll go ahead and create a battle plan. Is that something we're able to do? We'll just call it, let's see. The Papal Colonial Effort Map. A title that's just outrageously long for no real reason. We do now have the opportunity, however, to build some monitors over in Malaya. We'll do that, and also set up a naval rallying point. The French have gotten another model colony, which is really nice for them, I guess. And we'll go ahead and set up naval rallying points really just everywhere that we can in order to get our navy to more or less hold together. We can go ahead and do something with Lucca right now, which is going to be to just remove them from the sphere of influence of Austria, further weakening their claims to Italy. At any rate, let's go ahead and set up our colonial map. Now, the first thing we're going to try to do is claim this region. That is going to be the first wave of colonization. The region actually includes all the way down to here, and that will seal off for us all of East Africa. That will be in our first wave of colonization. We'll go ahead and take a look at the region map mode. We will also take over this region, and depending on how many colonial points we end up getting, it may prove worthwhile to, let's take a look at the Netherlands. They are a secondary power, so they can colonize. We'll have to make a difficult choice between colonizing here or colonizing into West Morocco. Now, ideally we'll be able to colonize in both ultimately they will have different benefits and downsides. Overall, though, that will be our first colonial effort. The second colonial wave, more or less, will push further into southern Africa, and we'll probably try to expand here, or here, all things considered. The general thrust is going to be, as colonial waves happen and occur over and over again, the general thrust of our colonial ventures, didn't mean to change the color on that last one, will be to go further and further into Africa to hopefully cut off really just anyone else. So the general theme to it is going to be a very simple and straightforward line that way, as well as a line that way. We'll also try to seal this off as quickly as possible, and from there we'll have to worry about the enemies moving in from everywhere else. I say the enemies, but I basically just mean any other state in the world. However, that's basically the gist of the plan. We'll go ahead and see if we can't get another tech in rather quickly. Really, anything would be good at this point. Nothing is overly vital. Really, we are up in the air now, which is kind of nice in its own way. We're no longer really at the whims of what is the absolute best thing to do. We now have a bit of freedom in what techs we pick. So what we could do is just go ahead and get stock exchanges and just start working on our tax efficiency. It's not ultimately very vital that we do this. However, we'll get it done in the next few months. It's nothing really too concerning. We'll go ahead and take a look at just how much it will cost us to get machine guns. It'll cost a solid 14,500 research points. We get 30 every day. I'll go ahead and bring up calculator in a different tab to do this relatively simple math. Divide by 30. So 480 days of spare points is what we'll need. We'll go ahead and give everybody residency just to kind of align everybody with not the liberals. And let's see, there's nothing we can really upgrade. We could upgrade these luxury clothes factories, however, I really don't feel like doing that. Something apparently just fell out from the bottom of our industry, which is rather odd and completely concerning. I'm not sure why we just lost all of this money. Apparently a wave of ships just got completed, and that is apparently just costing us tons of money to deal with. So it's a very good thing that we did actually go ahead and get our tax efficiency up. We'll go ahead and do that one more time, and we'll double check how long it'll be. Once we've finished this technology, we're not going to research anything for the remainder of the year. We do have a few colonial points at this point, and that really should be good. We won't be able to colonize the entire world or anything ridiculous like that. We are going to build a slew of additional ironclads everywhere we can, and some extra monitors where we can't. And let me just double check that we have everything more or less complete and ready to go. And with that, we'll go ahead and build a few additional frigates. And this should be good. This is essentially where we will stop and get off of this crazy train. We will even lower our naval maintenance. That gets us quite a lot of additional funds. We've essentially planned this out as far as we can, and now it's just going to be a matter of implementation. We'll go ahead and add Lucca to our sphere of influence, and just like that, half of the Italian states are in our sphere of influence, and Austria is halfway out. France still has a pretty solid hold on Sardinia Piedmont, We will see if we're able to break that in the near future. Meanwhile, our factories are doing very well, growing at a rate faster than we can actually build them, which is moderately concerning, although overall a fairly nice thing. And we can set up 3 colonies, and hopefully we'll be able to set up even more before this is all said and done. Now we are building more than our supply limit will allow. We'll just end some frigates, or we'll just basically decommission some frigates if it gets too bad. Ultimately, any amount of ships over our force limit don't contribute to our colonial power, and therefore would be a bit of a useless investment for really anything other than just prestige sake. And I guess it also does increase our military power score. Not that that's really vital. Now, everything said and done, we are really just in a spot where we can wait. Apparently, we built an army in East Africa, and it is just marching all the way up to the rallying point. That's a bit odd, but ultimately not a problem. We have roughly 2 years, and then we will finally, truly, become a colonial empire, with the vastness of Africa in our reach. Now, this is kind of an ugly plan, however, it really does sum up what we're trying to do here. And taking a look at the region map mode, we may even want to go for one of these provinces instead of just the random void that is West Morocco. In fact, oh, never mind. I was going to suggest we could declare war on Sokoto to get a base in inland Africa, however they're in the sphere of the United States. A rather odd choice by the Americans, though one that they make rather frequently. We'll go ahead and lower our tariffs just slightly in order to make up for our pops, the fact that we are now taxing them at a bit higher of a rate. Obviously, we've been taxing them at 100% for quite a while now. However, the effective tax rate is significantly lower than 100%. Effectively, it's just a 37% tax rate. I guess all that really means is people who are honest on their taxes are just getting completely wrecked. Austria, meanwhile, declared war on the North German Federation. It looks as though they are alone in the war, and Spain joined the North Germans. I can't imagine this is going to go very well for them. They do have 101 brigades to the North German 78. I've actually never seen the former Prussians, now North Germans, do poorly in a one-on-one fight against the Austrians, so this is actually very odd. I'm not sure what's different. Maybe just the fact that they were wrecked by France earlier on, they haven't really been able to recover. That's the most likely thing I can think of. Also, it looks as though our population is doing a good job. Our capitalists are expanding our factories and hopefully keeping up with really just the amount of craftsmen we have. We are the 8th most industrious people in the world. So as long as we are able to maintain what we've built already, we should be a rather significant powerhouse in the world today. The red shirts are threatening to overrun one of our allies. They will not give us military access. This is really the moment I have been dreading. Depending on how this goes, we will either become Italy, or we will be relegated to the dustbin of history and lose out on the chance to form Italy. Now, I haven't tried to form Italy for quite some time. However, years ago when doing an attempt, the case was that Italy could only be formed once, which means if another state forms Italy, even if we manage to annex them, we would not get the option to form Italy, and we would be kept as the Papal States for the rest of the game. Now, while concerning, we'll see what happens. Will we get the event to form Italy? Will we not? They're in the Austrian sphere. It is just a matter of time now. Oh, and it looks as though the North Germans are actually succeeding in their war. Will Italy form? Will it form under us? This is shockingly tense. We can sign the Geneva Convention, though we probably won't. Well, actually, let's take a look at what it would do for us. We would lose war exhaustion, get organization rate, and... well, we'll just not sign it. It takes away 1 infamy for free, and we don't have any infamy at this point. Now, I'm not sure just how long we're going to have to wait before something occurs. I'll go ahead and pause it and turn off the alert for the Geneva Convention. This is rather tense. We'll speed the game up as there's really nothing we can do if they decide not to form Italy, not to accept the demands. They will not accept military access no matter what we offer. Now, traditionally, it is Sardinia-Piedmont who forms Italy. However, we are a great power. Really, everything is stacked in our favor other than the weight of history. Now, I'm not really sure how that means the game will pick whoever becomes Italy, and that is relatively concerning. Alright, North German Confederation, or Federation, has backed Hungary, and it looks as though Hungary may break free from Austria. This would really support us and be a great boon for us. The North Germans, meanwhile, just won a significant war and took Bohemia. If we can form Italy, if we become Italy, this will be amazing for us. Now, nobody's really backing anyone. Unfortunately, the UK is backing Austria. This is definitely something I'd be willing to fight, and fight hard for. It's just a matter of if we'll fight for it as Italy, if we'll fight for it as a great power surrounded by Italy, or if we'll even fight for it at all. It's still yet to be determined how powerful the alliance blocks are, and with this ticking over into the new year, we are able to get the final technology needed, machine gun armaments, in order to get colonial ventures actually started in earnest. So, weirdly enough, everything is happening all at once, and it's moderately concerning. It looks as though everybody is backing Austria, which means we're probably going to have to back Austria. We just don't have a powerful enough navy, or army, or really anything at all to realistically fight the Austrians and the rest of the world with them. We'll go ahead and build a North Italian artillery, a Malayan artillery, and get another few groups of soldiers ready. Eventually we'll be able to form legitimate armies, actual stacks of 30,000 men. We're not quite at that point yet. Meanwhile, the red shirts not doing anything as of yet, and it looks as though everybody is going to support Austria, which is a terrible bummer and will weaken the prestige of the North Germans. They might actually bring it into a war and fight that war, which would be very interesting and completely shocking. Although, it is possible they may do it. If that occurs, by not supporting a side, I believe we'll lose a significant amount of prestige. But we still have 100 days. And the North Germans accepted white peace. So that's a bit sad for them. They'll probably end up attacking the French. I'm not sure how long the red shirts are going to need to control Parma before they enforce their demands or are unable to and just keep occupying Parma. It should occur in a similar way to North German German pan-nationalists. At any rate, we have gone ahead and gotten machine guns, which means economic responsibility and naval logistics. We'll go ahead and look. We can get economic responsibility right now. Instead, I'll focus on analytical philosophy to increase our research points. I feel as though we don't really have to worry too much, as we should be the first nation by far to get this technology. The only real concern... Oh, what's this? Alright. Amazing news. King, news has just reached us that the renowned Italian freedom fighter Giuseppe Garibaldi, I'm so sorry for butchering that name, and his expedition of the 1,000 have broken and taken control of the government in Parma. Everywhere this rugged freedom fighter goes, jubilant crowds of Italians turn out to greet him, waving the tricolor of the Italian nation, as the liberator of all of Italy. On account of our dominant position on the peninsula, the newly formed government in Parma sends word that they accept the Papal State's natural position as the foremost among equals of the newly formed Italy. We can do this. 12 prestige, we become Italy. And there we go. We are now Italy. We can also pass this and get a lot of additional cores. Now we'll take a quick look at our cores right now, which is really just Lombardia. And why not? Free cores are free cores. Which really just seems to be us attacking the Austrians. And all of a sudden we can build 77 possible brigades. Our amount of possible colonial power has shot skyward. We can go ahead and just begin expanding these naval bases everywhere we feel like. Admittedly, we're out of money now, but still, that's quite a few places. We're actually making a lot of cash. We can go ahead and start subsidizing all of these factories. We are a massive world power all of a sudden, just immediately. Hooray for the expedition of the 1,000. Alright, and just like that, we're going to have to make a major series of reorganizations to our country. Go ahead and keep expanding these naval bases. Also, we didn't give any lands over to the French, which is quite nice. The French may end up having cores on them. No, they don't. They couldn't even take the decision to get those cores. That is fantastic news. Alright, so with all of that and these naval bases coming online, in the near future we should hopefully get the technology necessary to start colonizing, and then we will just take off with our colonial efforts. I am incredibly happy with how that turned out. I was not sure whatsoever if we were going to form Italy or not by that decision. And here we go, colonial negotiations. Let's take a look at this colonial map mode. We're going to immediately rush all over that area, that region, deep into West Morocco. It looks as though, weirdly enough, oh, we just don't have naval bases close enough. That seems odd. Alright, I guess we just don't have the colonial range to go there. At any rate, that doesn't matter too very much. We'll just start every single colony we possibly can, with the primary goal of just sealing off, really just sealing off the interior as best as we're able. This does mean we're going to need a new colonial plan. And weirdly enough, we can't see it anymore. I guess I just deleted it on accident. We won't bother naming this one. Anyway though, new plan, very simple. We will just do this and hope for the best. How well it works, who's to say? Oops, didn't mean to make that last one. At any rate, let's take a look on, let's see, I believe that is July 1st or January 7th, one or the other, probably July 1st. We'll be able to build all these protectorates and just keep moving forward. And we'll just go ahead and upgrade all of these naval bases that we possibly can. And we get a few new national focuses, or foci. We'll take a look at our administrative efficiency. That can be improved in a few states, so we'll just encourage bureaucrats. And in fact, we can go ahead and turn off the focus for craftsmen for the first time in quite a while, and transition it back to focusing on bureaucrats for the few states not currently at 100% administrative efficiency. And hopefully in a few years we'll manage to bring Italy fully up to 100% administrative efficiency. And once that is complete, we will be able to shift our focus. First of all, we're going to want to get clergymen up to 2% in all of these states, and also get techs to increase our administrative efficiency in colonial areas. Right now, we have an efficiency of 0%, which essentially means nothing, just nothing at all. We're not really even present on the ground, apparently. So we'll get techs that increase that, and from there, we will be a legitimate empire. We'll just have to worry about fighting the Austrians, who are allied to quite a few people. I'm not really sure if I trust the so far consistent fact that no one actually joins their allies in a war. I feel like it would be incredibly risky to test that on a war against Austria. We can go ahead and see if anyone would join. The Russians would not join. So while it's possible it would work in our favor, before we actually do launch any offensive wars, the main thing I'm going to do is get all of the military techs possible. We'll also go ahead and build additional ironclads. It doesn't look as though we're actually able to build very many additional ironclads anywhere. So I guess we'll just not worry too much about our naval position. And come July, we will be able to get protectorates in all of these areas in Africa and continue with our amazing plan. Anyway though, as I was saying, once we get our military tech up to full and we build our army as large as we want or need it to get, then we will focus on turning back the Austrians. At any rate, it's rather nice the position we're in. We are the Papal States and all of Italy, so I guess technically Italy is ruled by the Pope in Rome, which is a rather nice thing if you're a papist, I guess, or if you're us, and we are us, so that's really the only requirement that matters. It looks as though clergymen are prevalent in at least a few of our states. We'll go ahead and see if they're prevalent everywhere, and they are not. So we'll just get them up to a solid 2%, maybe even all the way to 4%. Now we can go ahead and create all of these protectorates. We'll go ahead and just do that now. And just press deep into the depths of Africa. Now we will look at that. Just look at that amazing press into Africa. That is just the first of several waves of colonial ventures. We'll go ahead and attempt to create protectorates all throughout this region. We'll focus also on really just pressing as far as we can, as quickly as we can. So that will be our next wave of colonization. We do have to worry about the British, who are starting in earnest throughout that region. Probably one of the richest in Africa, and a legitimate concern if they get it. Now we have to wait until March 29th in order to make these new protectorates, and it's quite possible that the British or another state will start blocking us on the coastlines. I don't expect to get all of these coastal areas, however we should probably get at least one. And really at this point anything is worthwhile. We'll go ahead and get administrative efficiency up. And it looks as though the British have already created protectorates in those regions. We'll have to see where they spread to next. Hopefully they will go for areas farther away from us. Unfortunately, they are going right into this region and cutting us off. Luckily, they don't directly compete with us, and we'll be able to finish these colonies before they're able to finish theirs. From there, we'll probably start trying to build a colony there, not really to defeat the British, but just to hold them up so they can't make a protectorate and expand even further. Oh, and apparently we are getting a revolt. That is interesting and not a little concerning. We will go ahead and just start... We should probably move a few of our navies together in order that we can carry a significant force to really anywhere in the world that we need to. We'll go ahead and just split these groups up and destroy the rebel armies. It's not really that concerning that anarcho-liberals are rising up. They really don't have enough power to be a significant threat. And it looks as though this navy can only carry a weight of 3. We'll go ahead and bring this force over to Calergi. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I'm not very great at Italian, I'm very sorry to say. At any rate, we'll just load all of these forces up, drop them off, and yeah, get ready to defeat this last rebel army. It's a little sad that we have to fight our own people so quickly after forming Italy. However, Italy itself is a revolutionary idea. It's rather expected, or should be expected, that there would be people taking the idea of revolution a little too far. At any rate, we are just making an amazing amount of money. It looks as though we do have a few states where we need to go ahead and just upgrade our factories manually. This is really the point at which I would be very happy to lower our taxes on the super rich and hopefully get them to start taking an active role in governing our country. And more so than just that, hopefully get them to take an active role in building our factories so we don't have to do that all ourselves. We'll keep expanding our administrative efficiency, and in just a couple months we'll be able to build protectorates in all of these regions. We will go ahead and send a botanical expedition. Oh, and sadly the French are competing with us in one of these provinces. As long as we're able to get everything that bottles that up, though, I won't be too concerned. And in fact, we just have to wait roughly 2 months, a month and a half. There is a bit of an issue with them down there. Very happily, we won't have to worry about that, or at least not alone. We'll go ahead and focus more clergymen and just get everything up to 4%. We can invest in Senegal. I don't really think I'm going to do that with any real concern for the colony. We'll probably just abandon that as soon as we get Gambia. Now, it's very lucky that there is a competition for Congo, or not Congo, I guess Basse Congo or North Angola. Okay, North Angola, why not? They can all fight for that. And we'll go ahead and create these protectorates. It's going to look really terrible for a while, just as a warning. A little too late to really warn. I guess just as a statement. Alright, so with that region all taken care of, we'll probably abandon Senegal to the French. We'll create a protectorate there, or begin. We'll fight the British for this region. And let's see. The most important places we'll go are really just all of the areas in the middle of Africa. We can probably neglect this region for a while, although that would be dangerous. Ultimately, we will just hold on to this region long enough to get this colony set up, and then perhaps abandon it. We might end up staying. On Christmas, we'll be able to expand even further, and that's really when we'll worry about it next. We may end up trying to expand into Katanga sooner than that, and we'll just save all the areas that we are completely overlapping for later. And in fact, once we manage to surround Sokoto, we should be in a very nice position. We'll go ahead and start supporting Laissez-faire. The British are expanding their colonial empire, which is a little worrying. And they will probably be the main concern for our nation and our colonies. They'll be our largest competitor. Although that is rather typical for the British. Now, our naval bases will probably not be done until most of this colonial era are over, or most of this colonial era has ended. We can, however, start to worry about our military and its state of affairs. I don't imagine we'll be in a war in the near future, although it is rather still possible. So we'll go ahead and just group all of our forces up in Rome. We'll just unify all of the forces in the empire, and probably build a few solidly all-Italian divisions, as pops in Africa tend to lose a lot of their people when you do actually just first colonize them, and once really they just have a moment where they have to get used to colonialism. It's also probably going to be worth it to research social science, just to increase our education and our migration into the colonies. At any rate, with our army all together, we'll start splitting it off into smaller groups. We have essentially a full army. We just need to add an engineer and probably a guard unit. And that's essentially all that we have ready to go. Every other army is going to just be attached more or less to the spare units. And alright, so let's go ahead and first things first, we will build an engineer and a guard unit. We'll then build an engineer, a guard unit, 3 artillery, 3 infantry, then 1 hussar, 1 guard, 1 engineer, 1 artillery, and 3 infantry, and that will clean up, oh, maybe just 2 infantry for that last group, and 2 infantry, and that will basically complete all of these armies. We will then build 4 hussars, 2 guards, 2 engineers, 6 artillery, and 6 infantry. It looks like we still have at least 2 more armies we can build. That'll be another 4 hussars, another 2 infantry, or guards, 2, 3, 6. Alright, and with all of that, we'll have 57 additional regiments, and that should round out to being roughly, let's say, 8 full stack armies. I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate, but it does seem right. We'll go ahead and compare our progress in Africa to the plan, and yeah, we're holding to the plan fairly well. So that was a rather nice plan then. Another group of ships has been completed, which means we can go ahead and just continue expanding to the areas not yet expanded fully to. We'll keep denying the British Volta, just in order that we may hopefully prevent them from interfering in outer Hassaland. And we might even go after Dahomey. Probably pronouncing that terribly. Probably pronouncing all of this terribly. However, we are a significant power, so who really cares how we pronounce things? And the day after Christmas, we'll be able to expand even further, which is amazing news. This is certainly a wave of progress flowing across Africa. We'll take a quick look at colonial map modes. We can probably evacuate from Volta, not going to do that though. Instead, we're going to just double down, press as many gains as we can. And alright, so that's a fairly decent amount. We'll press pretty well into West Africa. And let's see. We'll actually withdraw from this province. Portugal is a civilized nation, so they might threaten our colonial ventures later on. However, at this rate, we might be able to jump over into this province and fully secure all the regions within. Eventually, we will want to just cut off the Portuguese in case they do start colonial ventures on their own. Right now, I'm not overly concerned by that. And on September 22nd, we will hopefully be in a position to basically just secure this region and maybe press even further into the sea. And yeah, that's essentially all that we can do for now. We are going far and above the plan. It's now going to be a matter of just building our armies up for our inevitable clash against Austria. Hopefully they won't bring their allies in, but they probably will. Or maybe not probably, but they might. We'll go ahead and delete our current plan, or no, actually let's not. We'll just add a new color. So the new stage of this plan is going to be to just roll on down this way, press our advantage to the coastlines, hopefully seal that off, press as far south as we can there, and press inwards through here. Now that's a lot more than we were going to do originally, or at least it's just in more detail. Whoops, didn't mean to make that last one. We'll delete that bit. Now, concern is the Ottoman Empire. They are still a great power, which is very nice for them, although also rather odd. We'll keep denying the British Volta, at least for a while. And yes, the Ottoman Empire might be a concern. They could sneak in to Chad and the Libyan desert from Tripoli. That would be a rather concerning turn of events. So it may prove to be a worthwhile idea to press into Chad sooner than later. Ultimately, though, that's still hypothetical, whereas all of these fights against the British, mainly, and eventually the French, are going to be very legitimate and very real in the near future. We do only have to wait until September, though, so I'm not overly concerned. We'll also split off this group of engineers and just send them over. And all we need now is a group of guard units, and that will be a fully formed army, the first for really the entire history of Italy. I missed the cutoff date by a few days as I was just concerned about something different. We are, however, able to begin creating a few more of these protectorates and pressing our influence even further into Africa. Alright. So, just like that, we have expanded quite a bit. We still have 350 colonial power left over, which means, first and foremost, we'll try to press into the coastline here. We'll get that last province. Now we could go there as well. I'm not sure if this is entirely necessarily the best course of action. We don't really get very much by cutting off the coast of Sokoto. The most important place will be the Niger Delta. If we take Botswana, though, we should clean up Zambezi. The real concern is going to be Portugal and the Ottomans. They're really the only countries... Oh, what? The Netherlands? Oh, that's disgusting. Dutch Algeria? Alright, so that's awful. As I was saying, minor powers are really the only concern we have right now, and minor powers have just proven that they are concerning. So, yeah. The Dutch are going to make this whole region a terrible mess. The Ottomans may do the same. I'm definitely not above fighting wars against them for those regions. We'll also go ahead and spread to Namaqualand. Ideally, we'll manage to take that over before anyone else shows up. And we have to wait until June 25th before we can do anything else. Ah, the Dutch are absolutely disgusting and terrible, and I'm deeply offended that they're doing this to our beautiful African borders. Unfortunately, we have to get an infamy because apparently we're not doing anything with our diplomatic power. We'll go ahead and influence Greece just because we can. We'll really influence Egypt and Sokoto in order to get them out of the American sphere of influence. Ethiopia is friendly with the United States, we'll influence them as well, and just try to break America's hold on those territories. Morocco will be a place we'll focus on later. And let's start getting our military text in order. We are going to fight the Dutch at some point. They're allied to Austria, Denmark, Spain, Luxembourg, Switzerland, and the Ottomans, so they do have a laundry list of allies to call in. We'll go ahead and turn off army construction view, as that is only going to serve to distract us. And we'll probably have to wait at least quite some time before, really just before everything is taken care of. Army-wise, it looks as though we're having quite a bit of trouble actually getting supplies to our factories and getting all of the goods needed to build our armies. I'm not entirely sure what's causing that, and well, I guess it doesn't matter all that much. Now, luckily, there is a good deal of conflict between major powers over colonies, which should, if nothing else, serve to just make it a little easier for us to take over really just all the areas we want to. In an ideal world, we'll be able to get to Inner Mauritania before the Dutch are able to fully get their colony set up, their protectorate set up. So we're going to do that. It'll look terrible if we don't. We'll also get all of our colonial peoples to be conservatives, just so we don't have to deal with them rising up. And let's go ahead and just upgrade our army even further. This is really a dumb fight to be fighting. It's a really poor area compared to everywhere else. Let's see, what's all this? We will go ahead and not redraw the constituency. We will be legitimate in our elections. And let's take a look at our priority. We can increase relations, and hopefully this is the start of a process that will kick the Americans out of Africa entirely. We can even influence them from Egypt. Egypt, interestingly enough, does have cores on some of our lands, so they might not be too happy to support us. At any rate, we'll go ahead and continue expanding our protectorates. We have now cleaned up that entire region, which is very nice. We do still have to wait a few months up until, well, actually just a few days before we can get that region. We'll spread to the last coastal area we need to concern ourselves with. And now it's a matter of questioning, do we think the Portuguese or the Ottomans will get colonies next? We really don't have to worry about fighting for anywhere else. This is all closed off. I'll go ahead and get East Angola, and we'll also go ahead and get Chad. Those two regions, once securely in our grasp, will seal off most of what we've got. We'll also press up into the Libyan desert. We actually have quite a few colonial points left, which means this area is ready to go. And we could even get South Angola as well. We'll go ahead and do that. And really, that is the main portion of it. In March 29th, we will be in a much better position. We'll go ahead and keep reinforcing our colonies really just everywhere else. We got quite a bit of money back, or not money, colonial power back. Now that we've gotten up to this level against the Dutch, we'll go ahead and get Zambezi. And just like that, the Portuguese will not be relevant, which will be very nice. We won't have to worry about them. And we will get alerts every time the Dutch start winning against us in Inner Mauritania. I wouldn't be too upset if Dutch Algeria keeps looking like that for the rest of the game. That's not something I would really be willing to fight them to the bitter end over. However, if they do get Inner Mauritania, that would just be absolutely terrible. From really just a vanity position. There's nothing really else to it than that. We'll continue to get army techs, as that's really going to be the most important thing. We're really at the closing end of the colonial era, and we're getting to the opening end of really the era of world wars and great wars and just major conflicts between European powers. How we handle that remains to be seen, although I imagine we will get to that fairly well. Italian Sicily will go ahead and start getting clergymen there. That might actually be the province I just took them from. No, it wasn't. Alright. We'll get everybody to be more conscious. And yeah, we're in a very nice spot overall. We managed to get the lion's share of Africa. Gonna knock on wood really quickly there. Although it is true. And there's only a few places left that we can actually be really challenged over, and that's going to be Benin, and eventually Inner Mauritania could be more of an issue. We'll continue to increase our relations with these various African states. Now that we're friendly with them, well, that's not enough. We will have to remove them from the sphere of the United States. It looks as though we were actually banned from Egypt, so the Americans are taking an active interest in preserving their holdings, or at least their influence in Africa. Not that that will save it, though. Ethiopia, not in anyone's sphere, so we'll be able to just remove or lower everyone's relations of them. We are making a tremendous amount of cash, which is practically unheard of. We will increase our military spending all the way up to 100%. Our army is just fantastic, probably, well, not the envy of really the world or anything, but it is in a good spot. Now, it was a little slow, but we can go ahead and get these protectorates set up. We'll have to wait until April and then May for the remainder. We'll go ahead and just keep all of this up. I can't imagine the Dutch have very much in the way of colonial power left over. So just like that, we should be really in a good spot. We'll go ahead and create protectorates in these remaining zones so that the update will go away. And that does cost us quite a bit of our colonial power. It may not be the smartest move to do this while we're still in a fight with the Dutch. Although, realistically, once we get these two done and these two done, we won't have to worry about anyone just coming in and stealing our hard work and effort. So, while we may be a little preemptive doing this, I don't think it's that much of a leap. Now, time will prove me either right or wrong, but I'm fairly confident that this won't be a disaster. North Borneo is now a crisis. We'll go ahead and express interest, although really I'm not all that concerned. And alright, France just accepted the offer. It looks as though the French got it. We can go ahead and create the protectorate in South Angola. We'll go ahead and just finish all of these colonies, turn them from protectorates into colonial provinces. And while this is moderately tedious, we'll be able to get it done in the very near future. And there we go. Now it looks as though the Dutch are winning slightly in their race. We'll go ahead and create that protectorate. We can't invest just yet, although in a few moments we will be able to. And we are just making an absurd amount of money. Our army is starting to come together. We'll go ahead and detach our engineers and a group of infantry over to form up into this army. I'm not sure what goods we're actually lacking that are preventing us from building all of the groups we need to. It looks as though canned food and artillery are the major shortfalls of our industry. I'll take a look at the states that have the most factories. We are getting quite a lot of canned food, although evidently not enough. We'll go ahead and turn on army construction view once again. Artillery is the major shortage. Artillery and then canned foods. We'll go ahead and keep upgrading our investment here in Inner Mauritania. And we own a very nice amount of Africa now. Not all of it, mind you, but a decent amount. And as we are still building ships, it will just grow ever more. And we may actually overthrow our current ruling party just so that we're able to build the artillery necessary to really get our army on a good footing. I'll take a look and see what we need for our guard units. Canned food seems to be the big thing. Artillery is still a massive issue. And to a small extent, liquor. Wait a minute, we weren't fully funding our stockpile. How dumb of us. Or, well, realistically, how dumb of me. We'll go ahead and decrease Ethiopia's opinion of the United States. We've managed to get a technology. We'll increase some relations and really just keep this up for quite some time. Now that Ethiopia doesn't really have anyone to call upon, in a few more days, we will be able to start justifying a war. We could justify conquest against them. It's a bit of a danger. It would give us a lot of infamy, far more than they're really worth. Let's take a look at all of this. Let's not do that. We could give up a bunch of lands to the French. I don't really want to do that, though. It would knock off 10 infamy, but infamy is not worth that much. We could justify a conquest casus belli against Ethiopia. I don't think it's worth it. We'll take a look at how many regions they own. It's just 3. I imagine there is a tech later on we can get, which will allow us to establish a protectorate against them, even though they have so very many states. At any rate, that is more of a long-term goal. Right now, we are just going to continue what we're doing. We'll expand our remaining naval bases up to level 3. We have by far enough, really just everything to get Oh hey, apparently Austria wasn't a great power for a while. They just became a great power again, kicking off the Ottomans. So no longer do we really have to worry about them. We'll go ahead and just establish these protectorates. And it would be very nice of us to just clean up Egypt. We'll also go ahead and start getting a colony, let's say in Djibouti, just because it does technically border the outside world. Although I never really see the AI go after it. We'll also keep investing in Inner Mauritania, as the Dutch are a bit of a problem. Really though, all things considered, this is more or less the end of the colonial era for us. All of the major efforts have been completed, and really now it's going to just be a lot of cleaning up. Although, don't get me wrong, there's probably quite a bit of cleaning up to do. We can also increase the relations the Greeks have with us, as eventually we will probably border them, depending on how much we end up taking in this area. The North Germans have declared war on the French, and they were dragged into war against the Austrians. If only our army had been completed earlier, we would be in an amazing spot. The Spanish offer us an alliance, we'll go ahead and accept it just because we can. And really, it'll be interesting to see how this newest war between the North Germans and really all of their southern great power neighbors goes. They are alone in this war. I really wish we could declare on the Austrians and support them, but really we can't at the moment. Hopefully we'll be able to in the near future though. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. We have made tremendous progress in Africa, far more than I was really willing to dare to hope for. The fact that we managed to form Italy was an amazing bonus. I really thought it would be a long and difficult slog, and quite frankly I expected Sardinia, Piedmont to get it anyway. So, we essentially got the best of all worlds. As long as we don't lose Inner Mauritania, I'll be completely and totally satisfied with how this has gone. Ethiopia, Sokoto, and Egypt will have to be cleaned up, although that's really just for aesthetics. We have gone a very long way, and we are not even halfway through this campaign. So next up, we'll probably get our army on a better footing and get ready to fight a slew of wars to just establish our dominance in the world. Thanks very much again for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.